Greetings folks, and I hope the 1/6 scale gods are smiling on you wherever you are in collecting land. And as always, welcome back to the channel for another 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review. And today it's the turn of SSR and DG's take on Batman from the 2018 animated movie Batman Gotham by Gaslight, starring the voice acting talents of none other than Mr. Bruce Greenwood. So there are a few firsts going on here. It's the first animated movie Batman figure I've ever owned, and it's my first foray into SSR toys. I know they do a lot of unlicensed Batman and Superman stuff, but this is my first time with them. And as regulars to the channel will know, my passion for the Dark Knight. But I don't often watch the animated movies. I really enjoyed Gotham by Gaslight though, with its sort of mashup of its Victorian era Gotham setting, Dickensian urchins, Sherlock Holmes tones and Jack the Ripper themes. It's a great little piece of violent fun, and the style of the era just fits that Batman aesthetic really, really well. So, usual format folks, box, accessories, figure, then showcase at the end. But before we dive in, a huge thank you to everyone who's supported the channel, and please drop a like on this review as it helps other people find Go Figure. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and bell notification icon. Not only will you be sure not to miss any of the action figure goodness coming up on the channel, but you'll be helping an old collector in his quest to find the perfect plastic person. But that's enough of my meanderings. On to the box. Let's stop it from spinning. And I was super impressed with this box when I got it out of the brown shipper. Not particularly wide, but it's really, really tall. And I'm just liking the work that SSR and DG have done here. You've got this sort of Art Nouveau, Art Deco feel to the whole thing, which I think just fits the aesthetic of the film itself really, really well. It's a really nice thick stock card going on here. On the front, you've got what looks like an image that's been lifted directly from a comic book. It says Night by Gaslight there. Obviously unlicensed figure, so they couldn't use the Gotham by Gaslight, so they went with Night by Gaslight instead. 1/6 scale action figure across the top there, SSR and DG at the bottom, and it's sort of surrounded by, as I said, this Art Deco, Art Nouveau framing, which is just really, really nice, and this gold edging to the boxes which fades into the corners. It's sort of bright in the centre here and then fades out to sort of more deeper orange in the corner there. On the sides, Batman logo, sort of like a Victorian era Batman logo, DG at the top, SSR at the bottom. I think that's pretty much repeated on the other side as well. On the bottom, and this is a hefty box as well, it's got some weight to it, just says Night by Gaslight on the bottom there. Let's have a look at the top. Yeah, same story on the top there, and around the back, all the usual warnings and credits and so on. Don't piss this figure off or it might run you down in a hansom cab. So yeah, that's the box, and really, really nice it is too, I have to say. For my first time with SSR, I think they've done a cracking job here. It really fits that sort of period very, very well, and that aesthetic of the film, as I said. So, brand new figure this one folks. It's a voyage of discovery for me. It's literally just come through the door, gone straight in front of the camera, so let's do what we always do. Let's crack those seals open, let's dive down onto the table and have a look at all the accessories that come with your Night by Gaslight figure. Okay folks, so accessories out. Let's take a look at everything you get with your Gotham by Gaslight figure. You get 4 pairs of hands, 8 hands in total. There are a gloved pair, fisted pair rather, already on the figure itself, which we'll take a look at when we bring the figure out. They're all gloved hands, by the way. And then you get a variety of other hands as well for gripping the accessories. We'll grab a couple at random. As I mentioned, they're all gloved, and yeah, first impressions are pretty good. The paint applications are nice to give it that leather look. There's some stitch work in the back there, an attempt at creasing where the bottom of the hand meets the wrist. Yeah, overall, it's not the best sculpt and paint application I've ever seen, but it's pretty good. The level of detailing isn't the highest, but yeah, they're still passable and still very good black gloved, leather gloved hands. So yeah, nicely done. We'll do the flexibility test. So that's a medium. That's a medium to hard, that one. So might need a hairdryer for gripping some of the accessories, but we shall find that out when we go to the showcase at the end. So yeah, that's sort of a neutral hand. We'll grab another one at random. I'm assuming this is for holding the grapple gun that he comes with. Once again, same level of sculpt and paint application, quite simplistic but effective enough, and quite detailed. So yeah, those are the hands. So we'll pop those to one side. Off to a relatively good start there with the hands. What else do you get? We will take a look at his cape. We'll get the big stuff out of the way. So he comes with this cape. Now, where to start with this cape? Screen accurate straight away. I can spot that much. I do like this style of cape, this sort of Victorian style cape, high collared cape that he wears in the animated film, and it looks like SSR and DG replicated that quite well here. It's got this sort of leather look to it. It's quite a thin material, but it looks screen printed, and it looks like it's got this sort of detailing to give it a leather-like look, but it is quite thin. People who know capes will know what I'm talking about. It's almost see-through there if the camera's catching that in this light. So yeah, it is super thin, but it's sort of like a thin version of maybe Hot Toys drape capes, but it's nicely stitched. The cut is very good. You've got those sort of indents at the bottom there, which are screen accurate. Around the back here, you've got this sort of collar section, which runs the entire length of the shoulder area. And as you can see, stitch work is really nice there. There are no frayed bits. There are no threads hanging down here. The material works, if a little thin. And a really nice touch here, notice this straight out of the box, is these sections at the front area here of this flap that goes over the shoulder are actually wired. So there is some wiring there, so you can have these sections catching the wind, or if you've got them in a dynamic pose, you can have them moving off to one side. So yeah, if a little thin, but nicely made, nicely stitched, screen accurate, but I would say, yeah, perhaps this material could be a little bit on the thicker side. The collar area itself has got this gold chain, which once again is screen accurate, and I do like these sort of little button areas here where the chain attaches around the neck. They've been sculpted and painted quite nicely to give them that sort of old brass type look with the black paint washes on there. So yeah, nicely done. And inside, I mean, it is lined as well, even though it is, well, I'm not sure actually, no, that isn't lining. That's actually just the material itself, although it is lined further up, if that makes sense, up around the back area of this collar. And inside there, if the light is catching this, there are three snaps for attaching it to the figure as well. And you can see that lining there has been stitched into the collar. So I think if we flip this over, we'll actually see that, yeah, you can see where it's been stitched into the collar at the top there, this material. So it isn't lined, it is actually just this material stitched into the back of the collar area there. But overall, yeah, it looks nice. As I say, it feels a little bit on the light side, but got to remember we're dealing with the price point here. So that's the cape. We'll pop that to one side. What else do you get? Let's take a look at his weapons. We will start with the batarangs. All one piece of sculpted plastic, quite simplistic again, a bit like the hands here. The design is correct. They've got a silver paint application on there with a little bit of, I think, dry brushing on there to give it a sort of slight amount of weathering, but the silver paint application is nice. The sculpt is pretty good, and overall, yeah, an effective 1/6 representation of his batarangs from the movie. So you get 3 of those. What else? 3 daggers. Now, uses daggers a lot in the film. All one piece of sculpted plastic, and they're all identical, so we'll take a quick look at one of them. Yeah, quite nicely done. The hilt itself has got some paint applications on there to make it look weathered and make that binding look like it's material. Pommel's got a bit of dry brushing on there, and the blade itself is a nice metallic silver colour. So yeah, overall quite nicely done. And as I say, 3 of those, all pretty much identical. There's some minor sort of sculpting defects here in this blade, but overall they're pretty well done. Yeah, you can see them there as well, but overall from a distance those things look pretty accurate and pretty impressive. So yeah, pop those to one side. That's the 3 daggers. You also get these 3, I'm going to call them bat discs, which he throws in the film itself, and I do like how they've done these. Once again, sculpted plastic, no metal here, but the paint applications are nice. The sculpt is screen accurate with those holes in there for his fingers, not dissimilar to the Predator throwing discs that you see in Predator 2. But yeah, I just think the paint applications on this are really nice. They've gone for a sort of darker grey metallic look here, and there's these studs of brass gold colour that they picked out around the edges and in the centre there, and they give you that real steampunk vibe, which is befitting the film itself. So yeah, you get 3 of those, so we'll put those with the batarangs. What else? Weapons, yes. Now the grapple gun, the steampunk grapple gun. I think they've done a cracking job here. It's, once again, I'm risk of repeating myself here, quite simplistic. There are elements to this figure striking me straight away, especially within these accessories that are simplistic, but I think this is reflective of the price point. But yeah, this is nicely done, screen accurate. You've got a sort of wood effect going on the barrel there and on the handle. Not much by the way of sculpting or paint application to replicate wood on the handle there. It's relatively detail free. But overall, the silver metallic paint applications on there to create that metal look are good. I do like this design, and they've caught it really well. It looks like a mini cannon with this barrel section underneath, obviously holding the line for the grapple itself. But yeah, I think they've done a pretty good job there, if a little simplistic again. Grapple hook now. Noticed this straight away out the box as well, and I was really impressed with this. And maybe some of the bigger companies could actually take a leaf out of SSR's book here. The grapple line itself is made out of metal, which is nice to see. The hooks themselves at the end there are actually plastic, but they are hinged and they will come out. As with all Batman grapple hooks, I would say exercise caution, but they do feel relatively sturdy, and there's some silver paint applications on there with some black washers and dry brushing to give it that metallic look, so they fold out. The line section here all metal, and it's magnetized at the end here, and you can pop it into the grapple gun itself and it holds in place like that. I think that is a really good idea. It's the little ideas, I think, that that can innovate here, and some of the bigger companies could take a leaf out of SSR's book here on this one. Had numerous Hot Toys figures and other companies' figures with grapple guns, where you find that if they are, even if they're not using metal, if they may be using metal in the grapple hooks themselves, or they have a tendency to dip. Because it's just friction that's holding them in place, but SSR chose the magnet route, and that means that thing is very sturdy in there, and very solid indeed. So yeah, hats off to SSR there on that one. Perhaps what it lacks in detail here, it makes up for in innovation. So yeah, liking that a lot. So yeah, that's the grapple gun. Let's take a look at this base. Once again, it looks like they've taken a leaf out of Hot Toys playbook on this one. The base itself very reminiscent of Hot Toys Batman figures of the past, only minus the 2 mini spotlights in the front 2 corners here. But yeah, it's pretty much the same dimensions. It's all one piece of hollow plastic. It says SSR on the bottom there, which is embossed in there. The top of it is this sort of, it's quite simplistic, but it's just sort of this paving slabs, maybe, pavement type effect, but it's pitted and there are dinks and scratches in there, and then it's been given a black paint wash to pick out those details. So it's nothing too fancy, but it's very effective. As I mentioned, it's hollow. There are no feet on the bottom there, so I will issue the usual warning, exercise caution, if you're putting it into your display. You don't want it slipping around in there. But yeah, I'm liking this. I think it's fitting with the era. It's got Batman on the front there. What looks like that's just been stenciled on there in that silver paint application. There's no name plaque or anything like that, but it does the job. Comes with a standard issue crotch grabber. Now this crotch grabber, I did notice straight away, is slightly extended here. out of the top. I am assuming that's because of the size of the figure, and it is a hefty chap. And also as well, because it's right, the hole for the crotch grabber is right at the back of this stand, it brings the figure forward a little bit, so it doesn't look incongruous by being too far back on this stand. But yeah, simple case of slotting that crotch grabber in there. He said, and this never works on camera. It never ever works on camera. I think it's worked once since I've been doing these, since the channel's been up. But no, it's gone in. Look at that, it's worked. It's called me a liar. Yeah. So you simply slot the crotch grabber in the back there, and that is your display stand complete. So we'll pop that to one side. Almost missed his goggles. He does wear goggles in the film, not very often. I think there's one sequence where he's riding his motorbike, the Bat Cycle. I think he has them on then. Trying to remember any other scenes, but it's a nice inclusion from SSR. And they're simply black plastic sculpted goggles. But they're nicely done, and they've got this elastic band, and it's good to see an elastic band that's actually fixed properly to the inside there, if the camera's catching that. So many times we see goggles like this and they're just all plastic, and getting them on and off the head can be a real ball ache, and they can leave marks and stuff like that. So it's just little things, like I said, and the fact that SSR have used elastic there. And yeah, the front is just black sculpted plastic with those painted slightly blue hued lenses on the front there as well. So yeah, that's the goggles. And finally the swap out head, and I was surprised that this figure came with two head sculpts. There's a more passive one on the figure, which we'll take a look at when we bring it out. This is the more aggressive of the two. So let's have a close-up look at this, and straight away, yeah, I've got to say that's a pretty good head sculpt. The screen accuracy is there. You've got to remember we're looking at an animated cartoon character here, so there's going to be slightly less detail, but overall I think they've done a good job there. The cowl itself has got these stitching sections in it, these grey stitches, which is screen accurate. The eyes are whited out, which is, once again, that's accurate as well. The mouth section here is perhaps not the best paint applications I've ever seen. The sculpt is definitely on point, but yeah, I mean, you've got a 5 o'clock shadow going on here, the dimple in the chin. Those teeth perhaps could be a little bit better painted, as could be those lips could be as well. But overall, I think yeah, I think they've pretty much nailed it here. I think SSR have nailed it for the look of the film itself. So yeah, I think they've done a cracking job. The ears are in proportion on the cowl. That stitching is continued up those ears. No stitching around the back. Obviously, it's pegged here, so it's straight onto the neck itself. But overall, yeah, and I'm going to say this again, I think at the price point, I think SSR have done a pretty good job there. So yeah, that's the angry head sculpt. So there you have it, folks. That's all the accessories that come with your Gotham by Gaslight Batman. So without further ado, let's bring out the big guy himself. Let's get him onto that stand, get him onto the turntable, and have an up-close look at him. Okay folks, so here he is. It's Batman himself, Gotham by Gaslight, on the stand, onto the turntable. First impressions. First impressions are pretty good, I have to say. The proportions look on point to me. The detailing looks right. The screen accuracy looks there. Obviously, this is what I believe is a body specifically designed for this particular character. I'm assuming this is one that SSR use for a lot of their Batman figures, but yeah, the build, the bulk, the material, colours, everything looks pretty much on point. But we will do as we always do. We will take a close-up look at him, and we'll stop him from spinning and get up close with the big guy. So I did like the way he's positioned on this stand. I think that was a good idea from SSR to have that slightly elongated crotch grabber there, which puts him more central on this stand. But yeah, let's get him off the stand and get up close with him. So we'll start with these boots. Now, these boots, they it feels like pleather over hard plastic at the bottom here, and then just straight pleather up the shin area. Now I'm assuming this is pleather. which straight away is going to cause issues if you're dynamically posing this. And this is where a lot of figures go, first of all, even not in a particularly dynamic pose, to be honest with you. It's these sections here that crease where the ankles are when the feet move. So yeah, I will be treating this with Aerospace 303 straight after this review, and hopefully avoiding dynamic posing with this. But the stitch work is nice. The stitch work in the pleather there, the screen accuracy is there with these sort of flap sections that cover the knees. The movement in those, there is a decent amount of movement. I am assuming they are pegged in underneath these pleather boots. And there's a really nice range of motion in there, but I wouldn't want to use that range of motion, if that makes sense, or at least not keep it in a particularly dynamic pose feet-wise in the display for any length of time. Wouldn't want to risk that deterioration there. But yeah, underneath, nothing underneath the boots themselves, but yeah, decent range of motion. But yeah, watch out, pleather alert. That's all I'm going to say on that one. Moving up, we have the pants. Now, these pants are super tight. The material is sort of it feels like it's sort of possibly a cotton, or maybe a man-made material, but yeah, screen accuracy, it's got a slight green hue to it. Now, I revisited the film again last night, and this is screen accurate. The shirt he wore was a lighter grey, but the pants themselves had a sort of green hue to them, which is screen accurate. They're pretty much skin tight. The stitch work is really nice at the sides there. Let's check the articulation here. What you've got there is feels like, yeah, a double bend at the knee there, and so that leg's pretty much going to go all the way back, which is nice to see. So there's that double bend at the knee there. Let's check the waist section. Yeah, you've got sort of you've got a forward motion, but doesn't feel like there's anything backwards there, and there's a sideways motion as well. Yeah, that's quite a stiff one, that particular leg. This one, I did notice straight out of the box, this one's a lot looser. So yeah, we've got a bit of I wouldn't say it's janky, it's going to hold a pose, but this right hand side hip joint is most certainly a lot looser than the left hand side. As you can see there, I can move that with one finger, which is perhaps not brilliant, but you know, it is what it is, and you can see that it's not falling on its own, but the slightest touch and that's just going to move. But yeah, so limited articulation backwards, but plenty of forward and outward movement there. Let's check the waist while we're here. Not much by the way of swivel at the waist. How about the abdomen? Is there a crunch there? No, not really. This is a bulky body, so yeah, I think dynamic posing here might not be the easiest thing in the world, and if you are going to dynamically pose it, yeah, avoid pressurizing those ankle joints. But moving up to the utility belt, let's get his arms up a little bit so we can see this. Now, I am assuming this is pleather. Leap of faith here. I can't see at this price point this being anything other than pleather. It feels like these pouches are solid plastic but have been covered in pleather. The belt itself feels pleather. I don't think there's any metal in that buckle. I think that's plastic. The detailing is nice and the stitch work's nice. The colour is nice. But yeah, I would hazard a guess this is pleather as well, so this will need treating. If you're going to pose him with the knives in the sheath that we looked at before, and these sheaths do actually I'll lift this arm up a little bit more. So you see this, they are free floating, so they'll move around on that belt, so you can position them equidistant or wherever you want them on the figure. I think those handles are going to stick up into that chest area, but we'll take a look at that. The body itself, I do like the proportions. They've got it just right here. Very, very bulky, the way he was in the movie. This shirt on the top, skin tight again. It's not the same material as the pants. This is a much tighter weave. It's got that sort of square panelled front section on his chest there, with sort of repetition of those buttons that you see on the cloak. And nice detailing on there with the black paint washes as well. I am assuming that this bat symbol on his chest here is pleather and has been sewn on. It may very well have actually been stuck on, and that stitching is just sculpted into the pleather for effect. I think that probably is the case actually. Don't think that's stitched on, but it does the job. And you've got the two snaps as well there. We're going to take a look at him with miner's cloak because it's easier to see the body. but we'll have a look at him with cloak on before we go to the showcase at the end. Let's check the articulation in these shoulders. Now, looks quite stiff, these shoulders. Do you have a butterfly joint? It doesn't feel like there is there, no. Feels like that's probably just pegged in there. So yeah, not much range of motion going backwards there. A little bit coming forwards. I think this is down to sheer bulk and the type of joint on this body. There is the elbow joint feels like it's ratcheted there, but once again, down to his sheer bulk, you're not really going to get that arm more than 90 degrees there, because he's got such huge forearms and biceps there that, you know, once you've reached that point, it's not going much further. The gloves here, now let's take a look at these hands. Obviously pegged in hands here with these sort of cuff sections that have been done in pleather again. Once again, I would say exercise caution with these. Perhaps treat them if you're picking this figure up, as I will be doing. But yeah, if you position them right, they look like gauntlets on the gloves, obviously, as they're intended to do. But they're actually free floating, so they do move around. Let's take a look around the back. Zip up the back there if you're wanting to take this off. I can't see why you'd want to do that. Huge lats going on this guy. Very, very muscular, absolutely enormous, very imposing, and very impressive as well. But yeah, around the front again, let's have a look at this neck area now. I think what SSR have done here, and I suppose it's the lesser of two evils, it doesn't feel like this sort of collar area is actually plastic. This feels like this may be pleather as well. They may very well have just somehow fastened this whole collar area to the tunic. Now, if that is the case, and it does feel like the case there, it doesn't feel like that's solid plastic, this could cause an issue when you're moving this head around. Because if that's pleather underneath there, you don't want to scratch that or cause it any kind of friction at all, because it is super delicate and it will scratch very, very easily. So yeah, perhaps not the best solution there. Might have been a better idea to go with a solid plastic there rather than the pleather on top of the material. But it is what it is. This is the second head sculpt. Let's get him. What I'll do is I'm going to pull the camera back a little bit here so we can drop this guy down the gap and we can get in close here. Now this is the non-white-eyed head sculpt. Slightly sterner look, but not full-on rage mode like the other head sculpt. And yeah, I've got to admit, I think they've done a cracking job on the cowl here. Those super large eye holes there are screen accurate. The stitch work once again around the top of the cowl there, screen accurate. Nicely done eyes. They are not the most realistic eyes I've seen, but they're blue and they're glassy. And we've got to remember here we're looking at an animated character as well. This is not a real life person, so there's going to be less in the way of detail. But yeah, paint applications on that mouth are really nicely done. The dips down in the corner there, hint of 5 o'clock shadow, that dimples there again. And you've got that stitch work around the edging of the cowl that we talked about when we were looking at the swap out head sculpt, which is really nice to see as well. So overall, yeah, that is a very nice head sculpt, which I would say exercise caution with on the when moving it around on top of this neck piece. So I think what we should do next is have a quick look at him with the alternate head sculpt on and the cape as well. Okay folks, so here he is. It's Batman with cape and with alternate head sculpt. And I have to say, this is going to be the look that I'm going to be going for in the display. Attaching the cape is absolutely, and I couldn't resist a little pose as well while I was swapping the cape and the head sculpts out. But yeah, the cape itself, super easy to attach. All you need to do is take off the head sculpt. Probably best to attach the snap at the nape of the neck first, which is in the top of the cape there. Once you've attached that one, it's simply a case, slip it over his shoulders and attach the 2 snaps on either shoulder section. Very, very simple, very, very easy to attach and then reattach the head sculpt. So that's a doddle. Yeah, I think with cape on, is even more impressive. I think it's a cracking piece here. So final thoughts on this guy. Let's start with the plus points first. Plus points. scale and proportions, absolutely on point. Screen accuracy is there in spades. I think the colours are right, the paint applications are right, the aesthetic is right, the base is good, the accessories, although a little simplistic, there's plenty of them. I like the swap out head sculpt. I think overall, I think it's a really, really good representation of Batman from Gotham by Gaslight. The downsides. Base perhaps a tad simplistic, although emulating Hot Toys. Probably the biggest gripe here is, well, the two biggest gripes for me are the use of pleather and this cape. Possibly on these boots, it might have been better. We'll stop him spinning actually at this point, so I can point these things out. Yeah, the boots themselves, I would have probably maybe gone for a plastic solution here, a solid plastic solution rather than this pleather. These ankles will deteriorate quickly. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be treating this with Aerospace 303 straight after this review, but it doesn't save forever, and these will go at the ankles. So maybe it could have gone for an alternate solution to that ankle situation. Probably the biggest thing for me is this cape. It's this super thin material, and you can see the light coming through the back here. I would have liked it to be slightly heavier, and it's great that they put these wires in the neck section here. They could have continued that around the back and the sides as well, because, well, I'll demonstrate. I mean, collectors will know of cape figures will know what I'm talking about here. As soon as you get those wires in there and you get that lift to the cape itself, it just changes the figure completely. It just makes it that more dynamic, that more cinematic, and it just looks far better in the display, whether you've got it wrapped around him and flying off in one direction at the back there, or both sides up, or it falling at the front and up at one side. It gives you that far more options for posing and display, and just looks that much better. So yeah, that cape really could have been better. Maybe a custom cape would be in order for this piece. Other niggles, joints, some of them aren't as stiff as they could be. A couple of leg joint issues there, and arms as well. Some of the accessories, the sculpt is a little on the simplistic side, as are the paint applications. Pleather in that neck area as well. I would have probably gone for a plastic collared area around that neck, because taking these head sculpts off and moving them around, you are going to inherently put stress on that pleather, which is going to cause it to crack and flake, which is not what you want. But overarching all this, we've got to remember the price point that this comes in at. So yeah, final score on this guy. Let's get him spinning again. Tough one, as it's my first time with this company. I'm going to give this an 8. Yeah, I think we're going to go with an 8 on this one. 8.5 on a good day. I think there's a lot of really, really good stuff going on here. I think it's a cracking figure. I think, and for a first foray into animated Batman, I am super impressed, and I'm super impressed with the company as well. It's not without its issues, hence the 8.5. But I think, as I say, you've got to take those into account with the price point. So there you have it, folks. That is Batman, aka Bruce Wayne, from Batman Gotham by Gaslight. What are your thoughts on this piece? Do you have it in the collection? Have you got it on pre-order? What are your thoughts on the animated films of Batman? Or what are your thoughts on the movie Gotham by Gaslight? What are your thoughts on the company that produced this figure? Nothing is off menu, so please drop a comment in the comment section below. I will be fascinated to hear your take on this. What's coming up on the channel? Well, I'm not going to go into any great detail on individual figures, but suffice it to say, in the 6-scale world, we've got stuff from Hot Toys, from Pure Arts, from InArt, from Susu Toys, Present Toys, Mars Toys, Org Toys, a whole raft of new figures coming in, so stay tuned for that. And we've got retro reviews, we've got more episodes of Grail or Fail, more episodes of Don't Make Me Choose. We have a Christmas special coming up, which will be my top 10 6-scale figures of 2024, so stay tuned for that. So yeah, bags of stuff on the horizon. So I mentioned at the top there, please mash that subscribe button and bell notification icon so you're not missing anything. And all that remains for me to say is, from the Victorian era Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, take care of yourselves, Happy collecting, and it's over to the showcase.